Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Lee Cantor here. Welcome to another episode of ATDC Radio, and this will be a fun one. I got with me today Ben Andrews, Statewide Program Manager at ATDC. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
We've known you for quite some time. Your roles have evolved over the years that we've known each other.
Yes.
And now you've taken on this the mission of evangelizing for ATDC around Georgia.
That is correct.
So now what is your job now? What's it entail?
So ATDC, while we're located in Midtown at Georgia Tech, we do have a statewide focus. So we try to help startups grow all across Georgia. So my new role is partnering with other entities across the state, other co-working spaces and incubators, and helping to bring ATDC's programming to them.
So now, how is Georgia doing? Is there a lot of kind of startup activity happening around the state?
We are seeing more. Now, the majority of the startups we work with outside of the Midtown area are still in greater Atlanta, but we do have a number of cities around Georgia that we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurial activity as well as entrepreneurial activity. And we do have a few coaches across the state, one of which is here with us today also.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a bit, but I want to get a kind of an overview of what the ATDC is doing here in Georgia. Without the ATDC, there'd be obviously some startup activity happening. ATDC is a tool, right?
Sure. So if you're not in a community the size of Atlanta, it's really hard to have access to certain resources. So what we're doing is we're trying to get those resources to people in other parts of the state and connect them. To give an example, we were in another city and we asked a VC if he would ever consider investing there. And he told us no on the way down there. And then we spent a weekend there. We introduced him to a number of the players in the community, some of the startups, some of the entrepreneurs, as well as some of the support structure there, and said, there is room for these startups to hire people. They've got the talent in this community that he was not aware of. And at the end of it, we asked, would you be willing to invest in this community? And he said, you know what, I would give an investment with a year trial and make sure they hit certain metrics. Mm-hmm. And then say, if you don't, we'll go to Atlanta, but otherwise you can grow there. And that's a win for us. That's him seeing that, hey, this other city has stuff going on.
So now, how many companies kind of are kind of utilizing ATDC statewide about?
So about half the companies in ATDC's portfolio are not actually in this building. Now, like I said, again, most of those are in Metro Atlanta, places like Sandy Springs, Roswell, Alpharetta, Peachtree Corners. But we do have about 19 Accelerate level companies. That's our companies that are figuring out their product market fit and are kind of early stage that are outside of Atlanta. And then we have one signature company that's located in Macon.
So now you mentioned coaches throughout the state. What cities are they in?
So we have 4 coaches in 3 cities. We have in Athens, Chris Hamilton. He is of our regional coaches, the one who's been with us the longest. And then we've recently hired Chris Dixon in Augusta and Radford Harrell in Savannah. And then we also have actually Clegg Ivy has been with us the longest. He's our angel in residence in Savannah, and he helps people with fundraising and things like that.
And then each of these cities, are they kind of doing their own thing, utilizing some of the tools of ATDC, or is there kind of a structure in place so that you can kind of drag and drop ATDC into any city that deems worthy?
So what we're looking for is we're not in the business of ecosystem building. That's not what ATDC is built for. It's not what we have the strength for. So we try to find a city that has already done that on their own, and they've kind of created an entrepreneurial environment. And then we find a local partner that we work with, and we have a coach who helps coach those startups and get them to the next level. So in Athens, we were working with a group called For Athens that has recently merged with Athens Made. And then we work with the Clubhouse in Augusta, who has recently relocated to the Hull Cybersecurity Building. And then we work with the Creative Coast, which is in Savannah, and they had a facility called Bull Street Labs, and they work really closely with CETA.
So then you identify those kind of, a lot of times they're co-working spaces or incubators of some kind?
Correct.
And then you say, hey, here's the ATDC. We have these kind of tools at your disposal and resources at your disposal. Do you want to partner in some manner? Yeah,
so we view it as a kind of a partnership. We sponsor these organizations, and we participate in certain activities of theirs, like lunch and learns, things like that. We also look to jointly do boot camps where we go through all of our educational thing in a condensed time period, going through customer discovery process, then financial literacy, investor readiness, buyer's journey. Some of that is, like the customer discovery process is out of the book. Anybody can teach it. But the other 3 classes are things that we've really developed in-house. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to deliver those classes in a regional market, and we do it with our coach and in partnership with them to help us with like our administrative needs and things like that, and marketing in the region, because they really know who's there and who's important in the region and who is interested and can reach out to these entrepreneurs.
Now, what's the biggest challenge for you right now to grow this statewide?
So, the way that we're structured, we don't naturally scale. We don't bring in as much revenue as it costs to run our program without state funding. So the state has funded this program and made it so that we can do a certain number of cities. We have a number of other cities that are really interested in working with us, but a lot of them haven't really gotten enough traction yet that we can justify spending taxpayer dollars there. We need to see that there is a certain entrepreneurial activity already happening. And how do we help some of these people that want to create a scalable business really do that? So you get a lot of people who may have done a lifestyle business and they're like, I want to create this. I want to scale it up. I want to make it product based, but I don't have the resources here to do that. So we're looking for the existing entrepreneurs and how to give them those resources. And it's hard to find those people in a lot of areas, because a lot of people, when you become an entrepreneur, people tell you you have to move to Atlanta. Right. If not, they tell you that you have to move to the Valley or New York. And we're trying to change that.
Right. Well, that's kind of a mental shift, right? Mm-hmm. To say, look, our city is good enough and we can figure out how to create an ecosystem here that will keep people here.
Yeah. And we've actually seen some, like Savannah has recently recruited a very well a startup that's doing very well, that I'm excited in the direction you're going, to Savannah. So we're starting to see some of the other areas say, we're going to bring startups in, and not just our local things. We're going to say we're a destination for this.
And then what was your goal in 2019? What were you shooting for?
So we didn't have a coach in Savannah for a while, and we were losing our coach in Augusta. He was part-time for us, and he was part-time doing his company, and his company was scaling up. So he was looking, so it was really to get new people in place at first. And then really I wanted to streamline the criteria. We had some funding that was federal funding at first. So we brought in a lot of Accelerate companies early on that may not have been the best fit because we were very metric driven. Now that we've gotten away from that, I'm looking at a quality over quantity. So I'm trying to standardize it and say we want to make sure that all the startups in the regions are also startups that we would have had in Atlanta, that we would have gotten into our program had they been located here. So by bringing in new coaches, fully staffing up the program, and setting some more standard metrics of what we're going to look at, we've also created a backup coach system. So that whenever a coach, say in one of the regions, is working with a company, say you're a health tech company in one of our regional locations, and our coach in that area is great for your general business, but may not necessarily know health tech as an industry as well, we connect you with our health tech specific catalyst as your backup coach. So you get 2 coaches in the region that still have access to you. Because if you're in Atlanta, you can just walk down the hall and go talk to one of the other coaches, right? You don't have that in those regions. So we're creating more support for our startups outside of Atlanta.
And who'd you bring with you today?
So today I've got Radford Harrell. He is our newest catalyst in Savannah. We're really excited to have him, and he's been in the community a while. He's really familiar with it, and I will let him tell you a little bit more about what he's doing there.
All right, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us about your background.
Started a number of businesses, failed a few times. Currently am the managing partner of a company called Talent Soup, and we're a marketplace of models and actors for mostly Fortune 1000 advertising, and excited about ATDC kind of shifting the focus to Savannah.
So now what drew you to ATDC to get involved? You didn't have enough on your plate with your day job?
Well, I tell you, it sounds a little hokey, but I've got 3 little kids, and I would love to participate in building Savannah as a community that keeps them there. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is a shiny, pretty city, and I think a lot of startups are not leveraging all of the tools that are available to them via technology. They think that the relationships that you could have in Atlanta aren't available, and I think ATDC creates this bridge to Savannah and some of these smaller Georgia cities. And I think it's the future of our state for attractiveness, for retention, all of those things.
Right. That each city needs some sort of a startup ecosystem in order to thrive.
Exactly. I mean, we need innovation either from entrepreneurs bringing in their labor and their ideas, or we need innovative companies that are already there. I think it's a two-pronged approach for Savannah because people don't realize it's a beautiful city. It's the hostess city. I think the gem of the Atlantic coast is Savannah, Georgia. But there is a ton of industry there. Very large companies, global brands.
Right. I mean, the port's there.
And everything that goes with it. Hunter Army Airfield, aerospace has a huge element there. Giant seafood processor further down in Brunswick. Lots of federal facilities. Hunter Army Airfield I mentioned. There's training facilities, large distribution. Yeah, everything you can think of that comes with the port. But tourism, is the second largest producer in the GDP. So yeah.
So now for you, how did ATDC get on your radar? Were you kind of leveraging ATDC in your startup?
Well, it's a small world in Savannah, so a lot of people interested in growing the city and the entrepreneur community in the city know each other. Actually, I'm a success story. Talent Soup was started here in Atlanta, and we were, I think it was 2006, 2005. I entered Talent Soup in the GRA tag business competition on kind of on a whim.
So it was an ongoing concern at that point?
It was.
At the beginning?
Yeah. No, we were about probably a year old. We were profitable out of the gate. It was doing really well, but I thought it'd be fun. I'll learn something. They had some great coaches that would help me continue to grow the business. And we did really well. We placed in the top 3. And in the process of going through that competition, met a CEO from Savannah. And I thought, there's no technology in Savannah. What are you doing? And he made a connection to Bryn Grant at CETA. And Bryn and CETA rolled out the red carpet for us and had us down for a couple of weekends and made a lot of introductions, lots of coffees and dinners. And my wife and I thought, there's no way we can't move here. I mean, this is why we are building a portable, tech-based, scalable business, right? That's it. And so when we ended up moving to Savannah, we were committed to giving back. And so we participated in the tech offshoot at the time of CETA, which is the Savannah Economic Development Authority, they called it the Creative Coast. It's still an existing entity. And so we plugged in, and I was on the board there and, participated in all the things that kind of go along with that, judging and, pitch contests and coaching and that sort of thing. So when Jen Bonet came back to Savannah, CETA hired her, a boon for the city.
Yeah, big win there, huh?
Huge win. If you're going to join a team, you join the winning team.
She gets some things done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into that stream, right? That's get out of the way.
Close.
That's
not it. Adjacent.
No, that's exactly
Jen
right.
Adjacent.
So I've known Jen for years. I mean, since she was based in Savannah, and she was the same force to be reckoned with before she left Savannah. Mm-hmm. And now she brings back lots of experience from ATDC, lots of resources, access, people, all of those things. And so I don't remember how this ended up on my radar other than maybe might have been Jen or someone at CETA said, "Hey, Rad, you should look into this." And so once they had been in place and there was a clear
structure.
Yeah, a clear structure and just, I'm a starter of things. I'm a business guy. I need Ben's understanding of the organization and kind of his vision of how ATDC can bring that benefit into Savannah. And it's a no-brainer, sign me up for that because we are going to grow some great things on the coast of Georgia.
Now, what do you need more of right now in Savannah?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. There, somebody I'm sure has studied this, but there is a layer of doers in Savannah that don't attend anything and no one knows who they are. So like every city, I'm sure there's lots of things happening and lots of energy and people building things. And one of the challenges is for an organization like ATDC is to just mine those people. You got to find them in order to offer those services and, see if there's a good fit, if there's good value, a value opportunity there. So I think it's awareness would probably be.
Well, you got to create engagement for these kind of millionaires next door, right? They're just going about doing their business and they're successful and everything's good in their world, but you got to kind of bring them into the community to kind of have them understand the greater good.
Well, I don't think it's that philanthropic. I think it's more black and white. They're pragmatists and they're bulldogs. And that's, one of the criterias of a winning entrepreneur is that has to be in place, right? Because you know the word no more than you know anything else, and you can't give up. And in the process of that, when I look at what ATDC, the culture of ATDC, the quality of their contacts, and that they're this was my first staff meeting today, right? So I got to sit in and kind of experience the culture. They help entrepreneurs. It's not going to be easy, but it doesn't have to be as hard. And I think that's the selling point. The message for Savannah is, this isn't a waste of your time or our time, but take a breath, pick your head up out of the computer or, out of your Salesforce or whatever it is you're using at the time, and look at what's available to you and look at the track record of ATDC. This is not 10 years ago when people were trying to figure out how to do this. No, ATDC has figured out how to do this. So look up, come take advantage of these things.
It'll speed up your learning curve.
Well, that's it. It's tackling the learning curve. Mm-hmm. It's opening doors that you would not even know there were doors. And that's the key.
Right. So. It's funny because it's what you don't know what you don't know. And there's so much of that. And there's so many resources at hand for so many people that they're just they don't even know they exist.
That's right. That's a great point.
And that's frustrating for the organizations because they're like, there's so many great things. How come people aren't coming to there's so much education. We save so much pain.
Yep.
And, people are heads down doing their business and they're not looking up to see that there's help around the corner.
That's exactly right. So I think it's that balance, the entrepreneur recognizing you have to be an opportunist, and ATDC brings a ton of opportunity. So.
Right. So now, how are you going to go? Like, what's your first 100 days looking like? What do you?
Yeah, it's already started.
So you're on the clock.
Yeah, I am on the clock. There's already with the Savannah Economic Development Authority, with there's some organizations of the port, with all the work that Jen's doing. Creative Coast is already there. We have a few thriving but still small tech-focused gatherings. I think for me, it's lay the land. Just getting an understanding of who's on the ground and doing what. I've made connections at the city. I'm working through connections at CEDA, through the county. And it's really clear that there's a lot of folks pulling separate lines in the same direction. And maybe this is an opportunity for me to help them kind of bind them all together into one big rope. And we're pulling in the same direction. So
have you ever worked in this kind of a political environment where you got to kind of wrangle a bunch of cats with different kind of maybe goals?
You're good at this, aren't you? Yeah.
This is the first time. He found me on Craigslist in the morning.
Listen. No, the short answer, no. There's no, this is a learning curve.
For you as well.
Yeah, it is. Although it could be a season of life, I recognize my goals are more philanthropic than they have been in the past. I see the opportunity. One of the moments in the staff meeting recently, just this morning, that jumped out at me was ATDC's culture is what did the trusted agent?
Yeah, so we're an honest broker.
Honest broker.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
you. That was it. And that's apropos. That is such.
What does that mean to you?
ATDC is an organization that is genuinely in it for Georgians, for success in Atlanta and these surrounding cities, and that's what they're being judged by. And when you look at the quality of help and the people that are involved, they're not here to make millions of dollars. I mean, that's not what's motivating them. It's something else, and it's reflected in the culture of ATDC. They really want to help companies succeed and people succeed, and that's a fairly rare thing to hear from an organization like ATDC.
And that's kind of one of the big differentiators where, like Ben was saying about the honest broker, there's no agenda. Like some incubators have, well, I'm going to get a certain percentage of equity,
Sure.
and that's why,
That's a motivator.
I'm helping you.
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly
and I'm helping this guy more than you.
That's right.
Whereas ATDC is kind of, everybody's on the same footing.
Yep.
And they have a different program for whatever stage you're in.
Right.
But ultimately, it's on you. You make it happen or not. And then we're here to help as best we can and support you.
Yep.
But we're not here to kind of pick winners.
That's right. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
And then that resonates with you at this stage in your career.
Well, it does. And I think that has to be the future of the startup world in any culture. I mean, it has to be. That's what's going to build communities. That builds resiliency in a community. If it's just numbers, I mean, that's easy and hard, right? But it doesn't last. It's pretty delicate. And I'm interested in durability of the investment in Savannah. And I see that ATDC talks the talk and walks the walk.
Right. And it's the legacy also.
It is definitely the legacy for me.
And I think this is a shift that's happening across the country in terms of capitalism, maybe, that there is kind of an altruistic element to this, as if you're going to be part of a community, then really be part of the community.
Right.
It isn't just about your company anymore. Like
Right.
That's important, but there's a lot of things that are important.
Yep. I think the evolution of capitalism could be an entire show for you guys.
We'll work on that together, maybe. So now, how can we help you? You need more startups involved. You need more mentors. What do you need?
I think we'll see over the next 6 months or so lots of ATDC showing up with just a little bit more public presence in Savannah. That's going to more awareness. Yeah,
right?
It's just more. It's brand building. I mean, this is kind of early stage. ATDC has had Clegg there has done a great job kind of keeping things moving in the right direction, but with fully staffing up on the ATDC side, I think it's going to free those new city catalysts to really start running and get their name out and get ATDC's presence known in the community. So that's really going to be my focus. A lot of kissing frogs,
Now, for you, is there coordinates, a website that they can get a hold of you in Savannah?
It's ATDC.org is the mothership, right?
And then from there they can drill down and find Savannah.
You bet.
Yeah, so we have landing pages for each of the cities on there, as well as if you just go to our team, it has all of our coaches, and you can find the coaches' contact info. And we use another Atlanta-based startup, Calendly, to do all of our meeting scheduling and everything.
That's calendly.com.
Yeah.
And then, but that's where, like, if there's workshops and education and things like that, they can go there and they can find all the activity that's going on.
Yep. So if you just click the news and about section of our website, it has a full calendar with all of our things, and you can sort and say, I only want to see Savannah, or I only want to see educational, or whatever it may be. We also have a monthly newsletter for each of the regional cities where we have a catalyst. So we have an Atlanta-wide newsletter, then we have one for Peachtree Corners, Augusta, Athens, and Savannah. So that's another way that people can keep in touch with what we're doing.
And then regarding education, this is workshops and education taught by the Catalyst, or they can be taught by entrepreneurs. How do you guys do education?
So we do these boot camps, like I said, where we teach our entire educational curriculum in a condensed time frame. And that is mostly led by our Catalyst, but we do also leverage other mentors, other entrepreneurs in the region that may know it. We also will use, accounting partners and things like that for sections like financial literacy. Sometimes we'll have some of our Atlanta staff come down and teach certain sections as well, so that they get to meet the entrepreneurs in those regions, get to meet some of the people from Atlanta, and get to know a couple of the other people they're not seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Good stuff. So one more time, the website for ATDC
is atdc.org.
And then who would be the right person to participate with ATDC?
Any entrepreneur that has a tech company at any early stage, we work with people.
Even idea, back of the envelope, there's a place for you.
We have people come in with just an idea, and we have people who are, I'm the business guy and I don't know how to build this, but I want to execute it, to I'm the technical guy and I know how to build this, but not execute it. We get people who are fresh out of college. We get people who are retiring at 65 and saying, I saw this problem my whole career and I want to fix it. We get a little bit of everything.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Rad. I appreciate your work in Savannah, and thank you, Ben, for putting the show together.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, guys.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on ATDC Radio.